Joe Carbacio, born May 3rd, 1911. His name was James John, and this is the Italian pronunciation, Carbacio. Okay. He was born in Maryland, and early in his life, like 1 or 2, he moved to Kaiser, West by God, Virginia. Somewhere in there, he met a young lady by the name of Rosemary. We know her as Mama Carbaz. And in 1938, they were married, and he is approaching, I think, the 53rd year of marriage to Mama Carbaz. At the age of 33 years old, with 2 kids and a wife, because of health, asthma, he moved his family to Arizona in 1944. Is that correct? Jeez, don't get pissed. The first job he had in this city, as some of you know, some of you don't know, he was an interpreter for the Italian prisoners of war.
He was a hood ornament on a 45 Packard. Right there, Marty.
The Italian prisoners of war that were interred down at 19th Avenue and McDowell at the fairgrounds, and they were maintenance workers, and the old man was the interpreter for them during that time.
Hey, what gives you the right to call him an old man?
Nice hair, Marty.
He also, we found this out from Mama Carbacio, he also, and this is true, hustled pool downtown Phoenix to raise extra money, pocket money, during that same time. Hustled pool. True story? Carbacio? Carbacio.
He used his nose for a bridge when he had one.
He worked, during those years, those early years, he worked for several insurance companies. Went from insurance company to different insurance company. He also worked for ASI, which was an advanced trade school, and he was the manager of that. He has been coaching or playing. Now this is hard to believe. When you think about this, goddamn, he's only 80 years old, and he said 72 years. Now, I have my notes at 53 years. He's telling somebody up here it's been 72 years. Christ, you're only 80. That means you were playing when you were 8. I guess that's okay. 72 years in baseball. In baseball. He's been in the valley, coaching or playing, and talked to Court a little earlier. He threw BP to him. I guess the old man took some BP today, hit the hell out of the ball, and did a good job. He's been coaching or playing in the valley for 53 years. All the way from Legion, and we decided that the person that goes back the farthest with the old man is probably Coach Hyman, who will be up here in just a few minutes. Connie Mack, semi-pro, collegiate league, affectionately known as the Carbacio, Jumpin' Joe Carbacio. Joe, the old man, or most widely used, would be just coach. And I can tell you, old man, that the only way we got these people here is we promised them that you'd never see this microphone. This will be the only time in your... This will be the only time... This will be the only time in your life that you haven't been able to dominate a conversation with your goddamn index finger. I think everybody agrees that Joe Carbacio's touched thousands of young people's lives. Many of the people in this room tonight play for or coach with Joe. He's been relentless in his pursuit of excellence. He's inspired us all. I think we can all agree there's no one quite like the old man. We're not done. We're not done, Joe. These people. You know, they say that you can judge a great man by the friends that he has. And as you look around this room, I think we probably need to use some other kind of a measurement. we're really hurting with the pop and some of these other guys.
Joe Carbacio, Jumpin' Joe Carbacio, the Carbacio. These are some of the names that Joe had. But the most important name that he had was Coach. This man had a passion for helping people, and specifically helping young people. And he did that through the game of baseball. This man coached or played baseball for over 80 years. 80 years. This man was hitting plum goals when he was 85. He was coaching in the Phoenix Winter League when he was 89. And any of you that have coached with him or played for him, you know that Joe didn't sit down. He did not sit down. When he was running a game, when he was coaching, when he was running a site in the Winter League, he never sat down, ever. And I mean that. And younger coaches like myself or players were looking for the shade or looking for a chair. Joe was still standing. He used to run a site at Ironwood High School in the Winter League. You know, this is probably only about 7 or 8 years ago. And I go out there. This is before Ironwood High School had dugouts. I go out there. You know, it's 115. I'm looking for shade. And the old man has got a wet towel around his neck, and he's just out in the sun. And everybody else is looking for shade. And he did this all the time. He didn't sit down. If he was going soft toss to a player, he was kneeling. He wasn't on a bucket. He wasn't on a chair. He was kneeling. I've been talking to a lot of people this week, and we've all come to the same conclusion, and you all know this. There is nobody like Joe Carbacio. There is nobody like him. And even though we're really saddened by his passing, we really celebrate his life. I remember a story. This is one of my favorite stories to tell. Joe was a great man, and he was a great man. We know he was a great man because he used to tell us that he was a great man. A lot. We know he was a great hitter because he used to tell us that he was a great hitter. He told us one time, and this is true, that he was a better pure hitter than Babe Ruth. And he meant that. Now there's people in this audience that know when he played non-pro ball, he was a good hitter. And there's people that can tell stories about that. But one story I like to tell is, we're coaching at Phoenix College back in the late 70s. Jody Carroll's the head coach, John Pearson, Joe Carbacio, and we're over in San Diego to play in a tournament, and we get rained out. Watch it now. Somehow I end up in a we might have to turn this mic down. Somehow I end up in one of the players' rooms. I walk in the room, and there's probably 12, 13 players, And the old man, and I say that affectionately, the old man is on the bed and he's telling stories. And the players are just throwing topics at him. Just any topic that they can think of. And the old man is telling stories. And one of the players says, Joe, can you tell us about a fishing story? And the old man looks, those of you that know him, he gets this twinkle in his eye, this Joe Carbacio twinkle, this boyish twinkle when he's just about ready to tell a whopper. And he goes, I was sitting on the bank of the Potomac River, and I just happened to throw a hook out, a hook and a line. And he said, I hooked onto a killer whale. And the kids are laughing and stuff, and he looks at him and he goes, and it dragged me all the way down the Mississippi River. Because that's a true story. We were really happy last June, myself, Coach Marriage, Eddie Wolf, Danny Maxwell, John Pearson, Jody Carroll, Mike Poplin, Marty Mayer, went over and surprised him for his birthday. Now, his birthday's not in June, but it's in April, May. But we had to get the old man to Carroll in town, so we went over there and surprised him with a birthday party and just had a ball. Again, he's center stage, he's telling stories. But, Coach Merritt, for those of you who know him, likes to tell stories too. So Coach Merritt is starting to tell a story, and the old man starts to tell a story, and pretty soon Carbacio goes like this, and he lays this big, huge finger that he has, and he starts hitting on Coach Merritt's chest and says, are you going to let me talk? And anybody that can do that to Coach Merritt, believe me, he's quite a man. Great man, and Pat and the family, this man is loved by thousands of people. He coached hundreds and thousands of kids, and those kids, many of those kids have gone on to be coaches themselves. He not only coached them with the fundamentals of baseball, but this man taught them how to be confident. He helped them with their problems. He wasn't just a baseball coach. He made kids feel better about themselves. And a lot of those kids have gone on to be coaches. There was a time here not too many years ago when we had probably 12 or 13 head baseball coaches in high school that had been influenced through Joe. So you can see that his goodness has been multiplied tenfold, 100-fold, because they're out there still now helping kids, just like Joe has. My last thought is about you, Pat. Those of you that know Joe also know that Pat's been taking care of Joe's wife, Mama Rose, for the past 8 years. And the past 2 years, she's been taking care of Carbacio. This lady, this is a 24/7 job, and this lady has been taking care of them both for the past 3 years. Very little sleep. And I want you to know that the people in this room, myself included, thank you very much for all that you've done for Joe and for your mom.
Think about the first time I ever met Joe Carbacio. I'm going to give you a story here. And we could tell stories probably till 2 o'clock in the morning, and he would absolutely love it. And this was at the old Camelback Diamond. It was on Campbell Avenue at that time. They didn't have any dugouts. They had the old benches there. I was about 10 years old. I was on my bike. I was shagging foul balls. I drive up to the ballpark, and Joe Carbacio is going crazy, getting thrown out of a ball game. And 15 years later, I was still with Joe, getting thrown out of a ball game down in Tucson, Arizona. An umpire by the name of Donnie Moore ran him out of the ball game, and Marty will never ever forget it, will he? But you talk about life, and you talk about people, and you talk about people who influence you. And I played for Plug Marriage, I played for Charlie Webb. These are great coaches. I played for Joe Carbacio. I coached with Joe Carbacio. And you know what's so great about that man right there is that he gave something back each and every day of his life. Now let me tell you something. Ron Scott is right. When Ron Scott was looking for a shade like he did every Saturday morning, Joe Carbacio was out in that sun, hitting that sunrose, and I'd pick him up every Saturday morning for the Phoenix Winter Instructional League, We started that league in 1970. I'd come to the house. Mama Rose would have 2 eggs and a piece of toast for me and a cup of coffee. He'd jump in my truck, and I'd roll back to that house about 5:30 in the afternoon, and he was still going strong. And that is a testimony to Joe. When we were at Phoenix College, there was a poem that was written about Joe. And I thought it was Eddie Wolf, but Ron Scott corrected me that it was written by Mike Bates. And I want to read it to everybody in here. It's an outstanding poem done by 2 ball players, Mike Bates and Matt Eaton, both of them from Apollo High School. And the poem went something like this. The score stood 4-3 that day in the bottom of the last when the PC team was reminded from a legend of the past. 2 men were down when Van got up and Butcher threw ball 4. A fire flashed in Owen's eyes as he knocked on Glory's door. Then suddenly, Carbacio was gone. He left in such a haste. But soon he returned with a uniform fit snugly about his waist. A voice was heard from the dugout, a voice none too sweet. Carbacio is hitting instead of you, Owen. Take a seat. Carbacio walked out of the dugout and grabbed a mighty stick. He tipped his hat and gave a wave and went to take a whiff. He stepped right in and checked the coach and took a fearless cut. The pitcher looked in